Breaking right now, an extraordinary royal interview that will go down in history in the same way as Princess Diana's tell-all with the Panorama Martin Bashir interview on the BBC. Prince Harry has completely lost the plot after the UK Appeals Court made a decision to reject his claim in court this afternoon that he is entitled to security paid for by the British taxpayers for the rest of his life. Now, Harry had previously said this was the most important case he had ever had to fight, that this was all about protecting his family, and we knew, close observers of Harry knew, that there was going to be a serious reaction if he did lose. Well, that reaction has come within hours because Prince Harry has just sat down with the British Bashing Corporation, the state broadcaster in the United Kingdom, to give a quite truly horrifying interview for the royal family, which I'm going to watch for the first time here with my incredible superstar panel, Alex Phillips, Connor Tomlinson, Howard Cox, and Father Calvin Robinson. So we're going to kick off with the moment where Harry is asked about today's decision. Let's watch.
There have been so many disagreements, differences between me and some of my family. This current situation that has been ongoing for 5 years with regard to human life and safety is the sticking point. It is the only thing that's left. Of course, some members of my family will never forgive me for writing a book. Of course, they will never forgive me for lots of things. But, you know, there is. I would love reconciliation with my family. There's no point in continuing to fight anymore. As I said, life is precious. I don't know how much longer my father has. He won't speak to me because of this security stuff. But it would be nice to reconcile.
Wow. So, Alex Phillips, already we see there Harry trying to present himself as the victim, but the reality is that there are so many reasons why his family don't want to speak to him. He was told time and again that there were consequences for writing that book, for making that Netflix documentary when the late Queen Elizabeth II was in her dying days. Yes, King Charles does have incurable cancer, as Lady Colin Campbell has revealed here on Outspoken. But for that reason, he doesn't want the stress of another drama with his son, who is perpetually the victim. And this interview, it's not going to help.
No, exactly. You know, it's interesting. England's second most senior judge, Sir Geoffrey Vosser, is presiding over this case, told the Duke his grievance over the downgraded security had not translated into a legal argument, and actually said the decision had been predictable and sensible. And there's Harry going, I want reconciliation for my family. I want this. The last thing's all about this security grievance. I need this. I need that. They might not forgive me for writing book, but I'm ready to forgive them. And you just think, so why are you doing what you're not supposed to do? Why are you having to sit down for the world's media and start talking about timelines for his father's life? That information hadn't been publicly revealed by the monarchy. That's incredibly sensitive information.
He doesn't care about invading anyone else's privacy, does he? Which he's done time and again. And it's like, how can you be told, if you do this, if you reveal our private conversations, if you reveal private text messages between Catherine and Meghan Markle, if you reveal the fact that you had some fisticuffs with the future King, Prince William, there are going to be consequences. They want nothing to do with you. But of course, Harry sees conspiracy in all of this. Watch.
Beginning of 2020, I was scored the highest as far as risk was concerned. And then overnight, I was reduced to the lowest without actually going through the risk management board. So one does question how that is even possible, and also the motive behind that at the time. And that was in 2020. And as hard as it is to appreciate or understand why the decision was made the way that it was in 2020, the hardest thing for me has been the fix of that decision for the last 5 years. The fact that I still haven't had a risk management board assessment done for me over the last 5 years. Everybody else within this group of people get it at the minimum once a year. So again, I would not have taken this far if I didn't have compelling evidence of facts that reveal why the decision was made.
But Father Calvin Robinson, there is no compelling evidence. This is delusion. This is paranoia. This is a man who sits in his home, very unhappy in Montecito, and believes the world is against him. I mean, this is quite extraordinary. Can we just think for a moment what he's claiming here? He's claiming that the British government and security services are actually fiddling the risk assessment, which would put his life at threat. I mean, that is completely insane.
He's putting his feelings above facts. We know that he's not very clever. He doesn't necessarily know how the situation works when they do these security assessments. But what changed in 2020? Well, Prince Harry stopped being a working royal in 2020. He moved to America in 2020. So the entire situation around his personal security changed. Therefore, the risk changed, and people making the risk management deemed him a lower risk than he was previously. Makes a lot of logical sense to someone with a working brain cell. The problem that he's having is he speaks in euphemisms. He can't address the truth. When he says things like, oh, the last remaining concern is this security situation. There is a security situation around Prince Harry, but it's not his security when he's traveling. It's him leaking information to the media. It's him having conversations that should be private in public. That's a security concern. And when he says, oh, there's this remaining issue about it, it's an issue of life. When he gets out there on a platform and speaks in favor of abortion and pro-choice, as he calls it, and actually no one's life is at risk here. His life is not in serious risk. And that's why the security has been downgraded to low. He needs to get a grip on reality. He needs a strong male role model in his life to give him a good shake and say, wake up, lad.
The problem is, Calvin, they tried for so many years. So many years. William was always there, always picking up the pieces, be it the Nazi uniform, using the P word, stripping naked in Las Vegas. But of course, the final straw was when William said, look, are you really sure about this woman? Are you really sure about this mad woman? The family has loads of reservations. And of course, he hit the roof. But he does actually say here that he believes that his family are knowingly being put in harm's way. So watch this.
And there is no family in harm's way. Everybody knew that they were putting us at risk in 2020, and they hoped that me knowing that risk would force us to come back. But then when you realise that that didn't work, do you not want to just keep us safe? Whether you're the government, whether you're the royal household, whether you're my dad, my family, despite all of our differences, do you not want to just ensure our safety? And I'm calling for, the Home Secretary and the government to do a review of RAVEC. And I'm also asking for an R&B assessment that I haven't received since 2019.
Wow. Howard Cox.
Well, I mean, the extract before that extract, what got me, he described his family as a group of people. His disdain for the family, he's just getting worse and worse and worse. It's nothing to do with family caring and loving or I don't hear any of those words. All I hear is, I want to be recognised, I want to be protected. And he doesn't need that. And he chose to leave, didn't he, the family and all of the things that go with it, all the acts he has to do, going around the country, seeing people on behalf of the royal family, that's all gone. He should know that he's got no position to ask for any protection. He's got loads and loads of money. I'm sure Netflix will pay loads of money to look after him. But anyway, it saddens me, especially as I'm the oldest one here. I'm nearly 120 years of age, and I've been around this. I've been around, the royal family. I'm a devout royalist.
Me too.
To see him do what he's doing to his family now breaks my heart.
Okay, Connor, before I bring you in, this is the moment where he's specifically asked, I believe, about King Charles's cancer. Watch this.
You continue to visit him alone without the family. Where does this leave things moving forward, the ability of your children to see their grandfather?
You know, life is a precious thing, and I'm acutely aware of the fragility of that. I can only come to the UK safely if I'm invited. And you know, there is a lot of control and ability in my father's hands. Ultimately, this whole thing could be resolved through him, not necessarily by intervening, but by stepping aside, allowing the experts to do what is necessary and to carry out an RMB.
I'm sorry, Connor, that is sick. That is truly sick that he is putting this on his dad. Number one, because of Charles's cancer, which, as he has now revealed to the world, is much worse than many of us think. But number two, because we know what is sacrosanct in our democracy. A clear separation between the monarchy and the decision makers. And what Harry is asking his father to do is actually not even constitutional, is it?
Well, I don't know about that because the government serves at the king's pleasure and there isn't actually a separation of powers in the country. In fact, I think a lot more people would be very happy at this point if Charles was just disband the government, march the army into parliament and dismiss the whole treacherous lot. However, I'm no big fan of Charles, so I won't come to his defense there.
Well, no, exactly, because the thing is, we don't want Charles interfering in politics. That's the whole point. Like, it doesn't
I don't know about that. I mean, I don't want him interfering in politics just because he's not got my politics. But anyway, I'll put that to one side as a revolutionary zoomer.
Okay.
I don't think as a man you air all of your grievances, especially family ones like this.
Oh, it's awful.
Let me just... Yeah, I just want to put this forward, right?
Please.
So my dear friend, Ayaan Hirsi Ali, has a fatwa on her head. She has for about 15, 20 years. And that's because of a jihadist in the Netherlands. But of course, any country she goes to, thanks to the treacherous immigration policy that our government and the rest of Europe and the US have conducted, less so the US, more so Europe, any place she goes, she has to have private security with her at all times because they've just imported people who relentlessly want her head. So I think that probably the threat to her life is significantly more large than that on Prince Harry's. I'm willing to bet that. And she still has the courage to, go out in public, make speeches, fight the cause, and put herself in a lot more danger than he does. But let's say that his life is truly at threat. Let's say it's like President Trump level, 2024 election level. Then why on earth would you stick yourself in front of every single camera, talk about your family's grievances, write a tell-all book, do a deal with Netflix, rather than retreat into some armed compound on the arse end of nowhere? Like, just get off the TV screens if you're really that worried about it, or hire sufficient armed security enough so that you can go over and resolve your differences with your dad in private rather than sitting on the straight broadcaster whining about it.
I know. It's so wrong. It is so wrong on so many levels. And of course, see, I really do believe that it's critical that the royal family doesn't interfere in politics. And yet, I'm told, obviously this is the first time we've seen this, but I'm told he also specifically name checks Keir Starmer and Yvette Cooper-Watch.
I would ask the Prime Minister to step in. I would ask Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary, to look at this very, very carefully, and I would ask her to review RABEC and its members. Because if it is an expert body, then what is the royal household's role there? If it isn't to influence and decide what they want for the members of their household.
I mean, the guy thinks that he is some type of revolutionary, Father Calvin Robinson. He is one of the richest, one of the most privileged men in the world. A whole load of people come to this country, be it Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk, and they pay for their own security. He's also been completely disingenuous because Charles has said, just come and stay at Buckingham Palace. That's completely fine. These are the wrong battles he's picking. To me, it's a sign of a very deeply unhappy man and a very deeply unhappy marriage. And I know as a religious man, you would hope that that marriage would work out. But at the end of the day, these battles are just pathetic.
Yeah, actually, my primary concern is that he reconciles with his father before he dies, and I think he should be focused on that too. And we're quite right that he could pay for his own security, or he could just go stay at Buckingham Palace with his father as recommended. The problem is that, well, there are two problems here. His sense of entitlement, that he thinks he's owed something by the country, by the taxpayer, by the royal family. He's not. And the second is his victimhood mentality, that it's never ever his fault. It's always someone else's fault. Even his dying father, the king, is at fault in this situation. He can never take personal responsibility. And so he's going to be a very unhappy man until he learns to break free from this woke victimhood mentality and break free from his sense of entitlement and just gain some personal self and responsibility.
I know. But also, like, there is a cost to what you did. And the cost was always going to be the loss of your family, mate. And unfortunately, you decided to go ahead. And what he did, I think people forget what he did. It's so despicable. He accused the family of being racist. He specifically accused Charles and Catherine of being racist. He included details about Prince William's private parts. I mean, it's like... I actually think he's gone mad. I think he's lost the plot. But look, I just want to show you actually what the judge said, because Harry thinks that there's a conspiracy going on. This is what the Court of Appeal judge said. It was actually on camera today, this ruling. Watch.
Just as significant as it has always been. His military service, she said, placed him at particular risk. Although it was not suggested that no security provision had been made, the Duke of Sussex strongly criticised the adequacy of what Ravek had determined was appropriate. I said in my judgment that these were powerful and moving arguments, and I said that it was plain that the Duke of Sussex felt badly treated by the system. But I concluded, having studied the detail of the extensive documentation, I could not say that the Duke's sense of grievance translated into a legal argument for the challenge to Ravek's decision. The decisions taken in the decision letter and subsequently were taken, I said in my judgment, as an understandable and perhaps predictable reaction to the Duke of Sussex having stepped back from royal duties and having left the UK to live principally overseas. So the conclusion, in my judgment, with which my colleagues, Lord Justices Bean and Edis, agreed, was that the Duke of Sussex's appeal would be dismissed.
So Connor Tomlinson, I mean, it's abundantly clear, like no conspiracy whatsoever. You left the royal family. You knew there was going to be a consequence. If there is a security threat, we'll still look after you. And Connor, it is worth pointing out, by the way, you know, a whole load of senior members of the royal family who are working do not receive full-time security.
Yeah, first of all, I didn't realise that David Starkey had a second job as a judge. But when you say that he's lost his mind, my dad has a very good phrase that he's said to me a few times in my life, admittedly, and that is a dangerous woman will draw you further than gunpowder can blow you. And I think that Harry's
I like that.
And perhaps his private parts too, because he seems obsessed with his brothers, have been pulled down a particularly noxious rabbit hole, and it's going to take a hell of a lot more to crawl out rather than to continue digging. So sadly, I wouldn't expect, if he keeps going about it the way he does, reconciliation with his dad in his lifetime. It's not to say that his dad hasn't done things wrong too. I mean, I'm sure the affair he had didn't do wonders for the family, but I think the most awful part in this, and predictably, Dan, I'm sure you'll agree with me, the most awful part of this, the most awful influence is probably Meghan Markle, because she's done the most to drive a wedge between him and his family and block off any ability for reconciliation.
Totally, absolutely. Well, look, you guys are legends, and Alex Phillips too, who was here. But I think the British Bashing Corporation worked out that she was broadcasting outspoken from their premises and was like off. And of course, Dame Andrea Jenkins too. Thank you so much for obviously dealing with a huge amount of breaking news, but you're all incredible. Connor Tomlinson, and Connor, by the way, congratulations. You have launched Tomlinson Talks on YouTube this week, so people need to subscribe to your personal YouTube page, don't they?
Yes, thank you very much, Dan. No bad blood between myself and my former Lotus Eaters colleagues. It's just that Swindon was not so sunny, and I am kept busy with other ventures that I cannot announce.
Prince Harry said the quiet part out loud, and this time, there is no walking it back. In his latest TV interview, Harry didn't just open old wounds. He tore the entire bandage off, looked the world in the eye, and said King Charles has cut contact. Not drifted, not distanced, cut. And the most revealing part of this story isn't what Harry said. It's the fact that he's still saying it at all. Let's be absolutely clear about what this interview represents. This isn't a man seeking reconciliation. This isn't a son reaching across the Atlantic with an olive branch. This is a man who has calculated, again, that going public is more valuable to him than going private. Every genuine attempt at family repair happens behind closed doors. Harry knows this. He was raised in an institution that has survived wars, abdications, and scandals precisely because it keeps its counsel. And yet here he is, on camera, telling the world his father won't take his calls. If King Charles has genuinely cut contact, that is a devastating personal reality. But the moment you announce it in a televised interview, you've transformed private grief into public theater. And you have to ask yourself, who does that serve? It doesn't serve reconciliation. It doesn't serve his children's future relationship with their family. It serves one thing, the narrative. Alex Phillips, Father Calvin Robinson, Connor Tomlinson and Howard Cox bring a combined perspective here that cuts through the sympathy fog that surrounds Harry's media appearances. And here is the core truth that no sympathetic interviewer will press him on. Harry is not a victim of royal silence. He is the architect of it. You do not publish a memoir accusing your brother of physical assault, detail your father's emotional failures to a global audience, and then express genuine shock that the phone stops ringing. That is not how human relationships work, royal or otherwise. The cause and effect here is not ambiguous. Father Calvin Robinson's perspective is particularly important in this context. There is a moral dimension to this story that gets consistently ignored by a media that frames everything through Harry's feelings. What about the feelings of the people he named? What about William, who has had to conduct his duties with quiet dignity while his private life was dissected? What about Charles, who lost a wife decades ago and is now losing a son to international television cameras? Here is the bold statement that needs to be made plainly. Prince Harry is running out of story. The Oprah interview was the atomic bomb. Spare was the detailed debrief. Netflix was the cinematic retelling. Each successive appearance has had to escalate. New revelations, stronger language, more explicit accusations, because the market demands escalation. Things are getting better doesn't sell. They'll never forgive me absolutely does. And that phrase, they'll never forgive me, is fascinating in itself, because it transfers the moral burden entirely. It's not, I haven't forgiven them. It's not, we're at an impasse. It's they, the cold, unforgiving institution, who are the obstacle. Harry positions himself as the man who wants peace, but is denied it. But if you've spent 5 years publicly dismantling the institution your family built, and the reputations of the people inside it, forgiveness is not something you're owed on a timeline you set. The royal family's silence in response to this interview is not weakness. Let's stop interpreting it that way. Their silence is a statement. It says, we will not dignify this with a response. We will not allow our private pain to become your content. That is not stonewalling. That is dignity under sustained provocation. Meanwhile, Harry's camp will frame every non-response as evidence of cruelty. Every unreturned call becomes confirmation that the royals are cold and calculated. It is an unfalsifiable argument, and it is designed to be. Here is the question nobody in that interview room had the nerve to ask. If King Charles picked up the phone tomorrow, what exactly would Harry want him to say? Because Harry has already written the story. He's already cast the characters. He's already assigned the villains. At this point, any reconciliation would contradict the narrative he's spent years building and millions of dollars selling. So ask yourself this. Is Harry actually waiting for a call from his father? Or has the silence itself become the product? Drop your answer in the comments. Because that question